Hi, welcome to Manas Sheila YouTube channel. Before we start, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Let's start the video. If you haven't watched the previous video, I'll link it in the description box, or you can click here. Tensura Volume 19. Interlude. The Army of Justice. The 3-star commanders. When Feldware turned to the Heavenly Star Palace, Michael had just returned. Looks like you got beat up pretty bad. Something unexpected happened. I went out to purge the defector bear, but my castle guard didn't work. What? I didn't have a problem. That's probably why. These powers are one of their core. Since you've set your loyalists as phantoms, I'm guessing that there's no one who knows about me. But there's me. Phew, that's against the basic principles of the skill. It's natural for your allegiance to be nullified. The two reported each other's situation, as if they were having a casual conversation. It was a surprise to Feldway that Michael could not use the castle guard. However, because he was able to figure it out without sustaining serious damage, it was okay. What he was more concerned about was what a bear, the traitor, would do and how it would end. So, what happened with the bear? Unfortunately, she escaped. A bear's subordinates were admirably loyal, and successfully protected her from the rest. Michael stated matter-of-factly that it was a shame to have lost such valuable assets. Even though he had killed them all himself, his attitude was like that of someone else. The soldiers under a bear's command were excellent. It's a shame to have lost such a force. Even Feldway's reply was so indifferent that it was hard to believe that it came from the heart. In fact, a bear's subordinates were loyal only to a bear and had no relation to Feldway. That is why he did not consider this a great loss to him. It would not affect the castle guard in any way, so he decided that it was not a problem. This callousness was the reason why Feldway was not well liked. However, Feldway did not care about this, and continued his rationalism to the utmost. It was different in the past, but there was no trace of that time left in the present Feldway. Now then. Michael changed the subject. He looked at the newcomers, Leon and Jahal, and confirmed that their forces had decreased since before the battle. He nodded his head and began to speak. I think we need a chain of command for our forces. Feldway, since you are the supreme commander, I think we should consider who should be placed under you. What do you think? When asked, Feldway nodded with a right. Now that we've talked to the last person we were negotiating with, we should decide on what to do before we start the full-scale invasion. Thus, once again, the main members of the Celestial Realm, excluding Zelanis' forces, gathered in the audience hall. First, Feldway presented the results of the current operation. Michael nodded in agreement, but since he had already heard the story, this was just a formal exchange for Dino. I see, so Aurea was killed in action. Dino spoke absent-mindedly. In truth, she had been eaten by Vega, but such an explanation was omitted. Dino had never really known her, but she was still a friend. He closed his eyes and prayed for Aurea's soul, thinking that he should be allowed to mourn for her. Dino was followed by Pico, Gracia, and Mai, while the rest of them kept blank faces. No one seemed to wonder about the tenuous relationship, and the meeting began without further discussion. Feldway took over as the moderator of the meeting. Michael, not wanting to interfere, remained silent and watched the proceedings. The topic of the meeting was the appointment of positions. The purpose was to clarify the hierarchy so as not to interfere with the full-scale invasion. Vega was the only one with an ambitious look in his eyes, while the others were indifferent. Dino, for his part, seemed blatantly unmotivated and shrunk back to avoid being forced to take any responsibility. Under such circumstances, Feldway's announcement began. There was Michael as supreme leader. Feldway himself was named commander-in-chief and chief executive officer. Velzard was the advisor. The decision was made to leave her free to roam, as she alone would be a fetter to block Guy's movements. Of the remaining people, only 9 were strong enough to be commanders, most notably Zelario. No, there was one more. The last one, who was not here, was an old acquaintance and friend of Feldway's. Including him, there were 10 of them. Normally, a commander would need to have a tactical mincet, but on a battlefield, where individual strength was important, strength was all that mattered. Feldway's idea was that, as long as the hierarchy was set, the rest could be left to the discretion of the commander. This was completely wrong, but it had worked so far. So, without any hesitation, Feldway set the hierarchy of strength. The strongest, along with himself, was the old friend who was not here. He was followed by Zelario and Jahal. Feldway decided to appoint these 3 as the new 3 Phantom Commanders. First of all, we will establish the new 3-star commanders, to replace the position of 3 phantom commanders. As generals of Veldanava Sama, I want you to exert your power to the fullest. The reason for the name change was that there were 2 people other than the phantoms. The star, of course, referred to the Star King Dragon. It was a title intended for one, to serve as a general, with the purpose of reviving Veldanava. Cornu is dead, and a bear has betrayed us. In place of these 2, I will appoint Jahal. The other one is expected to enter the war soon, and will be appointed at that time. As soon as he announced this, there was a murmur of discontent. It was Vega. Hey now, you're appointing some random bastard to be a supreme general of the heavenly army instead of me. That doesn't make any sense. This time, Vega, empowered by eating Aurea, was getting carried away again. He was a very unfortunate man, who appeared to have lost the concept of remorse. The only person who could handle Vega well was Yuki, but Feldway didn't care. Shut up. My decision is final. If you make another comment, I'll have you executed. Are you prepared for that? Feldway didn't have any idea how to utilize human resources. He possessed a very clear mindset that all that mattered was whether someone was useful or not. Anyone who was not useful would be discarded. That is why he was not well liked, and Feldway did not care about that. Next time, if Vega disobeyed him, he would seriously dispose of him. Vega, with his superior survival instincts, could sense this. The Vega who had been feeling all-powerful after his growth found Feldway's strength to be on a different level. He knew that he was not yet a match for Feldway, so he had no choice but to retreat quietly. Damn, I'm sorry. I wanted you to think more highly of me, so I interrupted you. He made up for the mistake and pushed down his dissatisfaction. However, he smiled once he heard Feldway's next comment. Don't be so rotten about it. I think highly of you as well. That's why I'm giving you the lead position of the 7 Angels of Death. The 7 Angels of Death was also the name of the group that was supposed to consist of the ultimate skill holders of the angelic lineage. But alas, there were not enough of them. Feldway, who did not care about details, designated the remaining main force as the 7 Angels, in order to make up the numbers. Originally, he had planned to appoint Kigali and Ibera as part of the 7 Angels, and Vega was going to be included as one of the 4-star commanders. Mai and Aurea were going to be assigned as auxiliaries, to serve as support. Unfortunately, from the very beginning, the plan had been drastically modified. In any case, he decided to assign Zelario, Jahal, and one more person as the 3-star commanders. The 7 Angels consisted of Leon, Dino, Pico, Gracia, Arios, and Mai Furuki, with Vega at the top. Now, the 3-star admirals were to command their respective corps, while the 7 Angels were to engage in single and multi-personal operations. And then, the main strategy was discussed. Now that we have Leon amongst our ranks, it can be said that we have broken one of the Demon Lord's forces. This means that we have one less point to attack. At Feldway's words, Mai projected a miniature version of the cardinal world and lit 5 points of light on the ground. One of them, the white dot on the continent controlled by Leon, disappeared. Only 4 spots remained. But then, Feldway pointed to a point. Mai changed the color of the spot from white to red. We don't need this place either. My friend has promised to help me, rather than be. The extinguished spot of light displayed the far west, Daggerul's territory. Are you saying that Daggerul has switched sides? It was Leon who asked that question. The one who nodded in agreement was the 3rd member of the 3-star commanders. He was a slender man with an exceptionally large physique. I have arrived, Feldway. You've done a bold thing, releasing me from the seal. The man was not Daggerul. His long shaggy hair was green. It was not the same as Daggerul's dull blue hair. His eyes shined like jade, which was also different from the blue-eyed Daggerul. However, they were vaguely similar in appearance. The man's name was Fenn. He was the younger brother of Daggerul, the continent's wrath, and was known as the Mad Fist Titan, who had been sealed away by Veldanava during a rampage in ancient times. The first to react to the sight of Fenn was Dino, who was normally laid back. It can be, you released the Gleipnir that was binding Fenn. Even though Daggerul has been so vigilant. Feldway, what the hell are you thinking? And, quite unusually, he questioned Feldway. He was still surprised, and his tone had become rough. Don't worry. Fenn and I are friends. Our interests are aligned, and... Feldway insisted that Fenn's abilities were tremendous. Fenn's magicules, which he was not trying to conceal, were leaking out as a supreme energy that overwhelmed the others. In terms of existence value, it exceeded 60 million, and was so vast that it could be said to rival the true dragons. However, there were other people besides Dino who were uncomfortable with Fenn. Damn, an evil deity sealed away in ancient times. He's the kind of tyrant that even I wouldn't want to deal with, let alone the divine ancestor. Jahal spat viciously. He did not know the man directly, but had heard about him from the divine ancestor. According to him, he was an evil deity who had been sealed by Veldanava for his destructive acts. In Jahal's mind, he was the second most evil incarnation after the world-destroying dragon Ivarage. That legend was now standing in front of him. Faced with this fact, Jahal was disgusted to the point of nausea. But Fenn didn't care. Smiling, he put his arm around Jahal's shoulders and whispered in his ear. "Hey now, we're all friends, right? Let's get along. I heard about it. Like you, I was appointed as one of the 3-star commanders. Unlike the rest of those small fry, you've got something to offer. You're more than qualified to be my servant." It was a statement that completely disrespected Jahal. Jahal shuddered in humiliation. For Jahal, who believed that he deserved to reign as the emperor, it was unthinkable to be looked down upon. But he could not complain. He could feel the desperate pressure of the arm around his shoulder. A cold sweat broke out on Jahal's forehead, and he sat back in his chair. I forgive you for now. I don't intend to end up like this either, but I'll leave things alone for now." And with that, he agreed to work for Fenn. Now that that was out of the way, they were wondering about the reaction of the remaining Zelario, but he didn't seem to have any intention of fighting in the first place. This was not just because he was under the control of the ultimate dominion, but also because Zelario, as a warrior, understood his own strength. Whether he could win or not could only be seen in actual combat. However, an all-out battle would cause enormous damage to both sides and would undoubtedly affect the future of the war. It would be pointless, to say the least. That is why Zelario decided to end the situation by giving in himself. Thus, Fenn was appointed as the leader of the 3-star commanders. With all the actors in place, all eyes turned once again to the miniature cardinal world. "So, Feldway, what do you mean that Daggerul's not a problem? I understand that Fenn Dono has joined our ranks, but that's not the end of the matter." Fenn replied to Jahal with a smirk. "Hey now, that's just sad. Are you underestimating my abilities? If you know me, then you should understand, right? Daggerul is certainly my big brother, but I'm more powerful than him." Jahal replied bitterly to Fenn. "I don't need that kind of boasting. If you really have no problem with it, just show me the results." Jahal was arrogant. Even though he recognized Fenn's ability, he did not intend to give up his pride as an emperor to follow him. Fenn seemed to like Jahal and smirked at him. "Even though you know me, you still have that attitude. That's fine, I'll live up to your expectations." Fenn smiled happily. He hadn't had a chance to talk to anyone ever since he had been sealed away in Veldanava so long ago. Despite this, scenes of the world had still been flowing into his mind, as if he were dreaming. This was because he was connected to his brother, Daggerul, and his other brother, deep in his soul. That is why he was aware of the world's situation to a certain extent. He understood that they were at the verge of the beginning of the age of civil war, and that this was an environment where he could be violent. Feldway was the only one who had visited Fenn when he was sealed up. As for Feldway, he had only been taking care of Fenn because Veldanava entrusted him to do so. At some point, they became friends, exchanging small talk and consulting each other. Feldway had no relatives to talk to because he was the leader. Fenn too had come to realize that solitude was lonely after being sealed for so long. In a sense, it was inevitable that they had come to trust each other. And now, Fenn had been given a place to play and a friend to show off his power. There was no reason for Fenn not to be excited. It wasn't not that Fenn was less violent than he used to be, it's just that he had learned to value his friends more. Fenn was more than happy to have friends. That is why he was grateful to Feldway from the bottom of his heart. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy it.